911. What is your emergency?
Help! Somebody, please help me. There's an alligator attacking my neighbor, Emily Davis. She's trapped in her pool.
Okay, ma'am. Stay on the line. Help is on the way. What's the address?
It's 45 Lakeview Terrace, Clearwater Springs. Oh God, he's still got her. Please hurry.
Is she conscious? Is she breathing?
I don't know. She's screaming, but then she goes underwater. I see blood in the water. Please send someone fast.
In the tranquil town of Clearwater Springs, Florida, a backyard sanctuary concealed a wild secret. For 5 years, Emily Davis had devotedly cared for an alligator she named Fang, raising him from a tiny hatchling into a formidable predator. But what transpired on that sweltering August afternoon sent tremors through the community, igniting urgent questions about the inherent perils of nurturing wild animals within domestic boundaries. Welcome to Animal Chronicles. If compelling, real-life stories about humans and the animals that turn against them intrigue you, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. Now let's explore the story of Emily Davis. Emily Davis was 28 years old when her life ended tragically in Clearwater Springs, a serene Florida town, better known for its sun-kissed citrus groves and dedicated wildlife rescues. She was a recognized figure, almost a local hero. Emily didn't just feel passionate about animals, she lived for them. Orphaned raccoons, abandoned possums, injured egrets, her home was a haven for them all. Yet none had claimed her heart quite like the hatchling she had discovered near the Appalachian River 5 years prior. It was barely 8 inches long, small enough to fit in her hand, with prominent eyes and a soft, striped underbelly. While most would have recoiled, Emily gently scooped it up, swaddled it in a towel, and brought it home. She named him Fang. Friends recall an immediate connection. Emily would often joke that Fang had imprinted on her like a duckling, viewing her as the only mother he'd ever known. Through her animal rehabilitation center, she secured a special wildlife permit, legally allowing her to keep and care for Fang, even as he continued to grow. And grow he did. At 3 years old, Fang stretched over 5 feet long. By age 5, he measured nearly 8 feet from his snout to the tip of his tail. This growth didn't go unnoticed, neither by those around her nor by wildlife officers. They issued warnings emphasizing that alligators, however tame they might appear, never shed their primal instincts. For an apex predator, they explained, food and territory would always outweigh love or trust. But Emily dismissed their concerns. To her, Fang wasn't a danger. He was an exception. She fed him by hand, swam alongside him in her backyard pool, and even allowed him to sunbathe at her feet while she read on the patio. Countless photos and social media posts documented their bond, Fang resting his head on her lap. Videos showed him responding to her voice like a trained canine. Public reactions were mixed. Some were astonished, others deeply concerned. She treated Fang like her child, a colleague later reflected. Perhaps that was the crux of the problem. Yet for 5 years, their unique coexistence remained uneventful, until the afternoon it didn't. She found him in the summer of 2018. He was half submerged in a mud bank by the Appalachian River, a tiny gator no more than 6 inches long, chirping for a mother who was likely gone. Vulnerable and alone, his chances of survival were slim. Fang became Emily's latest rescue project. But unlike the myriad creatures she had rehabilitated and released over the years, she chose a different path for him. Using her wildlife rehabilitation license, she successfully applied for a special permit to raise and house the young alligator indefinitely. Initially, he lived in a large indoor habitat, complete with heating lamps and a custom-built pond. Emily hand-fed him a diet of ground turkey mixed with vitamins, using a gentle tap on the enclosure to signal feeding time. She approached his upbringing like raising an infant. Every interaction, every feeding, reinforced her belief that Fang was unique, that he knew her. As Fang grew, so did the inherent dangers, though Emily seemed oblivious. When he reached 3 feet, she relocated him to an outdoor enclosure with a small wading pool. At 4 feet, this was upgraded to a converted in-ground backyard pool, which Fang used freely. Emily swam with him regularly, convinced it fostered trust. She interpreted his calm demeanor, predictable reactions, and responsiveness to her voice as signs of a genuine connection. But trained wildlife officials saw these same behaviors differently. as mere habitual conditioning. Still, Fang exhibited no aggression towards Emily. She could touch him, float beside him, even stroke his powerful jaw. He would often close his eyes and lie still, seemingly comforted. He recognized her scent. He answered her calls. In 5 years, he had never snapped or lashed out. It was easy, perhaps too easy, for Emily to believe he saw her as family. For 5 years, Fang lived tamely, even affectionately, alongside Emily. But nature's memory is long, and Fang was maturing. By 2023, he weighed nearly 300 pounds. His formidable tail alone could fell an adult. He had outgrown his enclosure, and his feeding regimen changed. Whole chickens, frozen rats, fish, now tossed from a distance, never fed by hand. Emily, however, continued to enter the pool, floating silently, whispering reassurances, acting as though nothing had changed. But it had. She just hadn't grasped it yet. By the summer of 2022, Fang was an imposing 7.5 feet long. His body rippled with muscle, his snout was broad, and his eyes, once small and dependent, had become cold and watchful. Despite his size, Emily treated him like the vulnerable hatchling she'd rescued. She swam with him, talked to him, and fed him whole chickens, which he now devoured with thunderous force. Concern mounted among wildlife officers, neighbors, and even close friends. Kevin Miller, a veteran field officer with the Florida Wildlife Commission, visited after a routine inspection raised red flags. He knew of the pet Gator lady. Her name was whispered in staff meetings. In his report, Miller noted Fang's size and enclosure, but was most struck by Emily's attitude. At some point, he told her directly, instincts take over. He's not a dog, Emily. She offered a familiar smile, having heard it all before. She saw the warnings as rooted in fear, not reality, insisting she knew Fang better than anyone, that he was calm, predictable, safe. But neighbors started reporting unsettling incidents, loud hissing during feeding, Fang rearing up and slamming his tail against the fence as Emily approached. A teenager saw him lunge towards the chain-link fence, jaws agape. Emily remained defiant, posting a video online of Fang resting by the pool just feet away from her. He's misunderstood, she narrated. He just needs trust. The comments section pleaded with her, be careful, stop swimming with him, let him go. It's a ticking time bomb, one warned. Emily ignored them. The warnings had been issued, clearly and repeatedly. Soon they would prove tragically prophetic. On the humid afternoon of August 18, 2023, Emily Davis stepped into her backyard with a pool skimmer. The water needed cleaning. Fang was nearby, a massive form floating near the shallow end. Normally calm during cleanings, today he was strangely still, eyes half closed, muscles tense. Emily, confident from 100 past cleanings, slipped into the water, missing the faint warning signs. Fang, fed less than an hour earlier, was restless, his hunting instincts stirring. As Emily dipped the skimmer, Fang moved. His powerful tail swept beneath her. Before she could react, his jaws clamped onto her right leg. The force was immense. Instinctively, Fang began the death roll, a violent spinning motion to incapacitate prey. Emily's raw screams filled the air. She fought, but his grip was ironclad. Panic shattered the quiet afternoon. Neighbors heard the screams and dialed 911. Emily thought it was just another cleaning. Fang had other plans. At 3:15 p.m., Helen Richards, Emily's next-door neighbor, was gardening when a shocking sound pierced the calm. Frantic splashing, followed by desperate screams. Helen ran to the fence, peering over in horror. Fang was thrashing violently, Emily struggling. Fang lunged, his jaws crushing her right thigh. He initiated the terrifying death roll, pulling Emily underwater again and again. "Help, please," she cried, but her voice was quickly silenced. Helen's hands shook as she dialed 911. "There's blood in the pool," she stammered. "She's not moving. Please hurry." In the pool, Fang dragged Emily toward the deep end, the water turning dark. Her struggles weakened. Neighbors watched, helpless, as emergency lights flashed and sirens wailed. Rescue teams arrived, but Emily's life was already fading away. Within 8 minutes of Helen's call, emergency crews arrived. Paramedics and officers from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission rushed into a chaotic scene. Fang thrashed in the deep end. Officers used long poles to push him away from Emily's motionless form. Paramedics waded in, pulling her from the murky water. Her body was limp, covered in cuts, her right leg severely damaged with deep lacerations and crush injuries. Despite frantic efforts, Emily remained unconscious. Rushed to the hospital, trauma surgeons fought for her life, but the injuries were too severe. Hours later, Emily Davis was pronounced dead. The crisis wasn't over. Fang, now a lethal danger, was captured using tranquilizer darts. Following state protocols for alligators involved in human fatalities, the once tame pet was euthanized, closing a heartbreaking chapter. News of Emily Davis's death sent shockwaves through Clearwater Springs. Vigils were held. Friends shared stories of her kindness, while former colleagues spoke of their growing concerns. "She loved him," said Megan Scott, a fellow rescuer, "but she forgot what he really was, a wild animal." This tragedy reignited fierce debates over Florida's exotic animal laws. Experts stressed a vital truth. "You can't train nature out of an alligator's DNA," stated Dr. Alan Peterson, a leading herpetologist. "They revert to natural behaviors." Emily's story became a somber lesson. Dr. Susan Webb, a reptilian behaviorist, explains that as Fang matured, his territorial instincts intensified. Emily, once familiar, became a perceived threat. The attack's timing, shortly after feeding, was crucial, as territoriality and irritability heightened them. Humans tend to anthropomorphize, Dr. Webb notes, seeing affection where instinct rules. Wild predators operate on survival. We must respect their wildness. Emily Davis dedicated her life to saving animals. In trying to tame nature, she lost hers. Her story is a solemn reminder of the fragile line between human and wild. If Emily's story moved you, share this video to spread awareness about exotic pet dangers. Subscribe to our channel for more true stories, and don't miss our next video on the risks of keeping dangerous pets. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and respect the wild.